Would you all please be seated? Good morning, everyone. I'd like to get started just to thank you all for coming. Friends, faculty, and most importantly, family. I realize that for many of you it's mandatory to be here, but I truly am thankful for your attendance, so thank you. I'd also just quickly like to thank you all for your participation in Arts Week so far and your willingness to deliver and accept the arts. Well, I don't know about you guys, but to me, this feels kind of weird. It seems like it was just yesterday when I was in middle school at Ellen Fowler's chapel speech. She was the head prefect at the time. I was sitting right over there. I had no idea what a chapel speech was. To be honest, I don't really remember why I was at her speech particularly. Really, I don't remember much of her speech at all. I think at one point she compared the comfort level of a spring mattress to that of a foam mattress and somehow related that to her time at Appleby or something bizarre along those lines. But I do remember the hymn we sang. We sang On Eagle's Wings, and I remember it so vividly because I was sitting over there, and about halfway through the hymn, I looked over at Ellen. She was sitting where Parker was sitting, and her and about 10 of her friends were laughing their heads off. At the time, I had no idea why. Now I realize that in the hymn, there's a line that says, snares of the fowler will never capture you, and I guess there was an inside joke with her and her friends. And anyways, at the time, I didn't know why she was laughing. So there I was, a random and irrelevant middle school student, sitting by myself at a senior school chapel speech, seeing all these people laugh, and just to fit in, I guess, I started to laugh with them. So their laughs are calming down, and I'm in hysterics on this side. An absolute lone ranger. It was, long story short, it was very random. I made quite a scene and kind of embarrassing. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that was 5 years ago, yet it only really feels like 5 minutes. This past weekend, I was at a friend's house, and it really hit me. In just a few weeks, this will all be over. Come September, you senior ones will be in our shoes, and we'll all be at different schools, if not on different continents. And a lot of the relationships we've been growing and developing over these past 6 years will begin to dissolve. Think about this. Graduation and formal are the last times we're all going to be together as a group. Not even reunions down the road will be able to bring us all back together. So I apologize, but this does feel kind of weird. I'm not one for transition material, so I'll jump right into it. You all know that big whiteboard outside of Mr. Van Nostrand's office with the important dates, etc.? Yes? If you don't know it by now, you have a problem. So sometime during this past October, I can't exactly remember when, I was walking around and I stopped to read it. I'd like to read you all a quote that I saw on it by Marie Henry Bale. Everything can be acquired in solitude except character. Listen to it again. This quote absolutely amazes me. Everything can be acquired in solitude, except character. Honestly, not one day has passed where I haven't thought of this quote. I could go on and on about how much I love it, but I'd like to tell you a story it reminds me of instead. At the very end of last year, to kick off the summer, I traveled to Nepal with my dad. During our trip, we visited some schools that we support, helped out at a hospital, did some trekking in the Himalayas, and we also met some pretty incredible people. One person who I will never forget was a monk named Lama Geshe. This person was absolutely incredible. He was the most at-peace person I have ever met. He was soft-spoken, but to be honest, it didn't really matter because his presence alone was breathtaking. So a translator, my dad, Lama Geshe, and myself, we sat and we chatted for about an hour. We talked about his life, his religion, his home, and his town, which was all very interesting. Then we got on the topic of Everest and the visitors that came to hang out on top of the mountain. I don't remember the exact details of the conversation, but I do remember some pretty profound things he told us. He was a very wise old monk, and it seemed like he really had life all figured out, so naturally I was glued to him. We talked about how people from all over the world come to climb Everest. Similar to what the senior twos just read in History of the World in 10.5 chapters, a stereotypical justification to go on a big adventure like climbing Everest is to find yourself. People go to the top of the world's highest mountain to find themselves. It sounds kind of ridiculous if you think about it. It was an interesting conversation, though. So Lama Geshe and I were talking about Everest, and then he said this. You won't find yourself on top of a mountain. You will find your true character and spirit, however, down on the ground with other people. I said to myself, of course. And so I clarified with him, so you'll find your spirit with your friends? And he said, yes and no. You'll find your true self with your friends and enemies. Think about that. Think about how it relates to the quote that I read earlier. Everything can be acquired in solitude except character. I bet if Lamageshi heard that quote, he would completely agree with it, but he'd also add to it. Everything can be acquired in solitude except character and spirit. I won't drag this speech on for much longer because I chose a fairly long hymn. It's definitely one of my favorite hymns, and I chose it because I doubt we'll hear it that much more as the year comes to a close. It's a long hymn, so I'll keep this short. But I would like for you all to remember what he said. You're not going to find yourself and become the person you want to be at the top of a mountain or locked in a room by yourself. Sure, you can learn every language there is with a laptop and a lot of spare time, and you become rich and famous with money and whatever by climbing a mountain by yourself or making a cool app. But you will not really discover who you are. You will find your spirit and gain character when you're with other people, the people you love and the people you hate. You will find yourself doing the things you love with the people you love, whether it's performing with the choir in the chapel, or winning a game in the arena, or speaking with others in a debating tournament or on a writing team. I don't know. But you won't find your true self in solitude. Please think about this as we reach the end of our high school careers. However, with everything I just said in mind, please don't be discouraged to face possibly life-changing obstacles. I honestly hope you get the chance to face great challenges. And if a mountain is placed in front of you, don't be afraid to climb up it in full sprint. I would like to end with a bit of optimism. Although our Appleby careers are coming to an end, and although we won't all be together after graduation, I know deep down in my heart, whether it's this summer or in 20 years, our paths will cross again. Senior ones, best of luck next year and shoot for the stars. Even if you don't reach them, you'll probably have some cool stories to tell. I'd like to thank you all for everything you've given me over the years and who you have helped me become. And when our paths do cross in the future, maybe we can all climb a mountain together. Now, would you all please stand and sing hymn number 436?